Hi guys! How are you today? Welcome back to my channel, Adventures in America. If you are new to my channel, my name is Jocelyn and I'm a dual citizen of the United States and the Philippines. Also questions regarding unvaccinated travelers and also those who received a Sinovac vaccine or other kinds of vaccine administered outside the US. So we're also going to discuss if they are allowed to enter in the US. There are also quarantine requirements for all travelers to the US, including US citizens and permanent residents. However, there are still travel restrictions that must be complied before coming to the US. Tourists are allowed in the US regardless of vaccination status. Also, the quarantine requirements are only recommendatory in nature and they are not compulsory or mandatory. You don't need to book a hotel to quarantine. They are only recommended for you to do after arriving in the US. So B1 or B2 visa holders are allowed to travel in the US unless your country is included in the travel ban and you are a traveler from these banned countries in the last 14 days. Talk about the travel restrictions in the US. As of January 26, 2021, all inbound passengers to the US, including US citizens and permanent residents and all other foreign nationals, must have a negative COVID test within 3 days prior to departure or documentation or proof of recovery within 90 days before departure. And all passengers 2 years old and above are required to have this negative COVID test or proof of recovery. Also, US does not require passengers to be vaccinated before coming to the US. If you are vaccinated, it will affect the recommended quarantine requirements. So we're gonna talk about the quarantine requirements later on in this video. But for now, we're going to talk about the requirements for the negative COVID test before flying and also the proof of recovery within 90 days. There are requirements to the negative COVID test before you can board your flight. And here are the specific requirements regarding the negative COVID test. The negative pre-departure test must be a viral test. It could be an RT-PCR test or an antigen that was conducted on a specimen collected within 3 days prior to flight departure from a foreign country. The negative test must be approved or authorized by the relevant national authority for the detection of SARS-CoV-2. Now, the qualifying test result documentation must confirm that the personal identifiers such as the name and birth of the person traveling must match the test result and the travel documents such as the passport. Number 2, the test performed must be a viral test. Number 3, the viral test or the test performed must be done within 3 days prior to flying in the US. Also, the statement must contain negative or SARS-CoV-2 not detected or COVID-19 not detected. If the test result says invalid, then it is not acceptable. If a passenger has recovered from COVID-19, you must provide proof of documentation of your recovery. This includes like a positive viral test or a positive COVID test and a letter from a public health official stating that you have been cleared from COVID. The document of recovery from COVID-19 means that the passenger has presented documentation of a positive test result and a signed letter on official letterhead that contains the name, address, and phone number of a licensed healthcare provider or public health official stating that the passenger has been cleared for travel and the positive test occurred within the last 3 months or 90 days prior to flight departure to the US, and personal identifiers on the positive test result and signed letter match the personal identifiers on the passenger's passport or other travel documents. And the test must be a viral test and the test result states positive or COVID-19 detected. Are the quarantine requirements after arriving in the US? Please take note that the quarantine requirements are only recommended and not mandatory. Also, those passengers who are fully vaccinated. But first, let's define who are these fully vaccinated persons. These are persons who received the vaccine or the first and second dose, and there is a lapse of 2 weeks after receiving the last dose, then that person can be considered fully vaccinated. And if you receive the first dose and only dose required, then after the lapse of 14 days, then you may be considered as fully vaccinated. The acceptable vaccines are those approved by the US FDA or those approved for emergency use by the World Health Organization. For those fully vaccinated, after arriving in the US, you don't need to quarantine, but it is recommended that you get a test 3 to 5 days after arriving in the US. Now, for those unvaccinated, after coming to the US, the recommended quarantine is 7 to 10 days, and these are only home quarantine. And you need to get tested 3 to 5 days after arrival in the US. Effective May 22nd, regarding the travel of US citizens abroad with expired US passports. If you're a US citizen abroad and you have an expired passport, you may be allowed to travel back into the US until December 31, 2021. However, the expired passports cannot be used from US citizens coming from the US to travel to an international destination. And there are also specific requirements before you can avail of this. Here are the specific requirements. Travelers qualify for this exception if all the following are true. First, they are a US citizen. Number 2, they are currently abroad seeking to return to the United States. Number 3, they are flying directly to the US, a US territory, or have only short-term transit through a foreign country on their return to the US or to a United States territory. Number 4, their expired passport was originally valid for 10 years, or if they were 15 years of age or under when the passport was issued, their expired passport was originally valid for 5 years. And number 5, their expired passport is undamaged and in their possession. Also, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention made an announcement regarding the importation of dogs effective July 14. That effective July 14, 2021, no dogs arriving from rabies high-risk countries will be allowed entry into the U.S. The temporary suspension also includes dogs that have visited a high-risk country in the past 6 months. The list of rabies high-risk countries can be found on the CDC website. However, there are also exceptions. You can check the exceptions also under the CDC website. I'm also going to update you regarding U.S. immigration updates and embassy reopenings abroad and visa issuances in my next video. So guys, if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. I always welcome new subscribers. Thank you guys for watching, and if you have any other questions or comments, please post them down below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Again, thank you guys for supporting my channel, and I hope everyone is staying safe and have a great day.